Hello, trumpet players. In this video, I want to talk to you about how important it is to do the expansion studies and to do them correctly. I'm talking about the major scale expansion studies. To do them and do them correctly. So my teaching career has changed a lot, and I think part of it is because of this video. I mean, not this video, the YouTube channel. Um, some trumpet players think I'm somebody now. Um, I'm still a nobody, but they have at least some respect for me before they come to the lesson. Um, so it's been easier to sell some of my ideas to the students. And I use the word sell because that's what it used to be like 20 years ago. I had most of these ideas a long time ago. But getting students to do those ideas was like pulling teeth. Okay, so um, so yeah, there's this sequence of steps that we should take when we're learning a new scale. Now, sometimes students get to me and they already know half of their major scales and stuff like that, and it's kind of hard in that context to find exactly where they should start in my system. But yes, I have had recently a student that really questioned me, why do we have to do this? Because this expansion study thing that I do takes a lot of time. Now, and it might seem like it's not worth it. It might seem like it's not worth it. Like the redundancy of it might put a lot of people off. So let's talk about that just a little bit. Now, before we go on to that, my tonalization studies do work whether you do the expansion studies or not. But what happened over the years is I noticed that some people, when they do the tonalization studies cold without doing the expansion studies, when they do the tonalization studies cold, there are mistakes that linger for a long time. I mean a long time. And really, I think in the long run, it limits their possibilities down the road. In the long run, we're talking about preventing them to reach goals that they could have reached if they had gone the more patient route. Okay? Now, I believe that the path to virtuosity is to play what you already know, to practice what you already know. This is one of those controversial things. There are some controversial things. They're not offensive controversies like some people that I've seen online where people really get riled up. But controversial nonetheless. There is I consider it a myth out there that if you practice what you already know, you're wasting your time. And I completely disagree with that. The path to true virtuosity is in practicing what you do know and not wasting your time with what you don't know. I'm going to say that one more time. The path to true virtuosity on the trumpet is practicing what you do know and not wasting your time on what you don't know. And think about it. If every time you reach a goal, you now bombard yourself with stuff you can't do, that's how you play. That's your musicianship. That defines the very essence of how you approach technique. You're always on the edge. And that, I think to some people academically, that sounds like a good thing, always on the edge. True virtuosity. You look at the guy and he's doing all this stuff and you're like, he's not trying at all. Think about what I'm saying. The guy that's really trying, oh, that's not virtuosity. If he has the ability to do that without all the theatrics, then it's just theatrics. Keep that in mind. Because there are people that can't hear the difference and they have to put on a show so you know that he's a good player. There is that. But on the flip side, there are people that's what they have to do to get anywhere close to a virtuosic performance. They have to try harder. Because why? Because it's not within their grasp. It's not within their reach. That's why I say true virtuosity is in practicing what we do know. So what am I talking about? Why do we talk about this now? The major scale expansion studies start with exercises that everyone can do as long as you're careful. You know, if you're not careful, well, I've told people many times about this. My practice techniques work. They work so well that if you're not careful and you practice wrong, you might as well not practice at all. So let's say, for example, let's say you're doing B flat major scale. And your first note, you're playing B natural. And you do that through the whole exercise, through the second exercise, 10 repetitions on the third exercise, 10 repetitions on the fourth exercise, and you're playing B natural through all that. It's going to be very difficult for you to fix that and do B flat now. So always be careful. I put out a book last year at about this time, the Trumpet Pioneer Tonalization Studies, and I put a bunch of text in there. And that's one of the things I'm warning people about. A lot of people skip the text. That text in that book is extremely important. I'm thinking about rewriting all the tonalization study books to include that text because it's so important. And one of the things I stress in that text is how careful you need to be because these techniques work. And if you learn something wrong, it can stay wrong for a long, long time. So, getting back to the point, as long as you're careful, and you do play B flat, C, B flat, everyone can do that. There's nobody that can't do that. And the temptation is, because it takes a long time. The temptation is to say, oh, I can already do that. Let's move on. And that goes back to your practice philosophy. If your philosophy is, I'm going to keep doing this until I can get it right, you'll never reach full virtuosity. You'll never reach true virtuosity. That's the wrong practice attitude. The best practice attitude is to practice in a way that you rarely get it wrong. I'm going to say that again. The wrong way to think is that I'm going to keep trying until I get it right. The path to true virtuosity says, I'm going to play it correctly with very, very few. Maybe 10%, maybe 5% at a time, I have a mistake. Hopefully less than that. What most people do is mistake, 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 mistake. Oh, I got it. So they have like 9 times that they got it wrong, they got it correct one time, and then they move on to the next exercise. That's not going to help you. When you practice that way, I'm serious. You're better off not practicing at all. Because what you're doing is reinforcing bad playing. You're reinforcing mistakes. So the correct way to play is to do the easy stuff. The instructions in my book, in the expansion studies, say, do that first exercise 10 times. And you should be singing and fingering, right? So let's say we're doing B flat. Da, dee, da. Then we sing and finger. Da, dee, da. Then we play that 10 times. Now we add the D. B flat, C, D, C, D. Now the book I'm singing right now is the band scale expansion studies. I shouldn't be talking about that one. If you don't have to do those band scales, it's better to do the other book, which is not a physical book, and it's not as available as other stuff because you can't get this one on Amazon or stuff like that. I'll put links down in the description if I remember. So the reason why I mention this is because the major scale expansion studies book descends first. And that's so that the one book can be for all levels of player. If we ascend first, then I have to have different books for every player. Okay? So we descend first, and then you just stop when you get to the top of your range. So anyway, I should have been going B flat, A, B flat. B flat, A, B flat, right? Then we sing and finger, B flat, A, B flat. We do that 10 times. And like I said, a lot of people are tempted to skip that. I can already do that. Why should I do it 10 times? I can already do that. Now B flat, A, G, A, B flat. Now sing and finger, B flat, A, G, A, B flat. We're going to do that 10 times. Then we start working our way up. But we add the C, we add the D, 10 times on each one of those. And a lot of people, before my reputation became what it is, a lot of people would fight me on that, and they would not do the exercises. And if I made them do it in the lesson, they'd be like, have an attitude. Fortunately, like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't have to fight with people anymore about stuff like that. So it's amazing. I love it, right? I love the fact that the students will actually do the stuff I tell them to. It's like trumpet teacher nirvana right there. All right. So, why do we need to do the 10 times? Why do we need to do the whole thing? Why are we doing the expansion studies at all? It's so that this stuff, the notes in that key signature, we're not learning the scale, we're learning the key signature. So that when we now go on to the tonalization studies, those notes are automatic. And now the accuracy, the mistakes that I see in some of the students are extremely diminished. And what's the benefit of that? The benefit is now when they go sight read music that's in that key, they don't struggle with it. I remember when one of my adult students used to complain, used to have to, he plays in his church orchestra. And sometimes they would hand out music that has 5, 6 sharps in it. And he would have to go through and mark all the sharps on the music, right? And I remember one of the lessons, he comes in, he says, hey, I just had a concert this weekend at the church, and I didn't have to mark any of that music. That was only after doing the tonalization studies for a year. So yeah, these expansion studies are dreadful. Right? You think that, I have to tell the students sometimes, I say, yeah, you think they're dreadful. I have to sit here and do them with you. Because I do, you know, I don't have this, I don't have a problem practicing with the students in the lesson. I don't have a problem with that. You know, in fact, I think with most students, we do practice in the lesson. That used to be taboo. It was like, um, you're you're wasting the master's time by not being prepared. You should have practiced at home. But you know what? That changed for me when I started teaching some students that didn't practice at all. And the only practice they were getting was in the lesson. And they were making better progress practicing with me than when they were practicing at home. And what does that tell you? Is that these students don't know how to practice. So I tell almost all my students, I've told them, the biggest thing we have to learn here is how to practice, not how to play the trumpet. The trumpet's easy to learn compared to how hard it is to learn how to practice. It takes years and years and years to really truly master the art of practicing. And trumpet, you know, and so don't get me wrong, of course, if you're practicing and you're mastering that art of practicing, you're getting better on your trumpet. That's the whole point of practicing, is to get better on your trumpet, right? Um, so yeah, you know, it's a tough sell sometimes to get people to do this stuff. But I hope you understand what I'm saying here now. By doing this expansion study now, you diminish so much the mistakes that happen later. And it's not just that. The fact that it now becomes so much more natural, so much more automatic. Now you can play faster. Now you have better access to improvisation. Now you can sight read better. Now your ear is going to be more well trained. There are so many benefits to this automaticism that I'm talking about. This, I've said it many times already in this video, that's the path to true virtuosity. And I don't only just apply this in scales, I apply it to all things. We practice what we already know, and then we expand that. I love expansion stuff. I love the expansion stuff. We expand what we know to cover that we don't know. I do it with range. I do it with literature. I do it with improvisation. I do it with the scales. All of this stuff. I do it with the routines. I have a student right now that's coming back after 20 years. He learned, I think it was 20 years. He learned my method 20 years ago. He's coming back now, and he's now being introduced to the new books, and he's enjoying the new tweaks, the difference between the Daily Routines book and these Trumpet Chops books. He's enjoying the differences because in the Chops books, it's all about expansion. It's all about expansion. Anyway, I hope I've made this point clear. If you do the expansion studies properly, the benefits far, far outweigh the irritation you would get having to sit through that. The benefits are tremendous. Now, let me say one more thing before we close. Those exercises are only meant to be done once. They are an introductory exercise. It's not like the tonalization studies. Tonalization studies are meant to be done for the rest of your life. Those are forever. You just keep adding more scales to the list. The expansion study is your step into the tonalization studies. And here's a point that some people miss. Let's say you don't do the whole key in one day, and I recommend maybe not trying to do the whole key in one day because it is a lot of exercises. Then keep track of where you are. Don't do it mentally. Please don't do it mentally. Write on the book. How many times did you repeat number 1? How many times did you repeat number 2? When you come back, let's say in the first 2 days you got to number 8. When you come back, do number 1 one time, number 2 one time, number 3 one time. When you get to 8, one time, then 9, do your 10 times. That's just what we do to get back into it. But once you finish the last one, and the last one is whatever one is at the top of your range. Once you finish the last one, you never have to do that set of exercises again. It's your introduction to the key to make sure you don't have issues when you start the tonalization studies. Now, that said, I had a student in San Francisco that said, but Eddie, I like those expansion studies so much. Can I please do them? Now, if you like them, do them. Most people find them dreadful because of the repetition, right? So once you've finished the last one and you're ready to go on to the tonalization studies, you never have to do it again. What a simple price to pay for future virtuosity. What a low-level price you have to pay to be able to do some amazing things in the future. So that's what I want to leave you with. Do the expansion studies and do them correctly with the 10 times and the singing and fingering. And you will be, and also let me stress to be careful that you are playing the right notes, okay? Get yourself a, a fingering chart so that you know for sure you're playing the right notes, and use your ear. If it sounds like a weird skill, then you're probably not playing the right notes, okay? But with those 3 things, if you do them and do them right, you should experience great benefits. All right, that's what I got for you today. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next video.